Are tax cuts a good idea to save pubs? Get your calls in now. 0287862 2222. More than 600 pub landlords have signed an open letter to the Chancellor urging her to cut a key tax in this autumn's budget. They want business rates to be reduced and say their suggestions would save an average of 10,000 pubs per year. The British Beer and Pub Association has warned that one pub will shut every day this year. They expect 378 to close in 2025, adding to the 15,000 pubs that have called last orders since the year 2000. Alice, big breweries back up these pubs. They set the price that they charge beer for beer to them. Some of them make tens of millions of pounds of profit. Why are we, the taxpayer, expected to help these pubs out if these big companies don't?
No, I mean, it's one of the most heavily taxed industries out there. 40% of brewers' outlay goes just on tax. When you go to a pub, as we all must to support our local pubs, £1 in every 3 that you spend goes on tax. You go abroad, you could get a glass of wine for €3. You go to a pub in the City of London where I work, it's £12. And look, these breweries and these pubs are also huge employers. I think the hospitality industry is something like the 6th biggest employer. In the City of London where I work, the hospitality industry is essential for making it the global financial competitive hub that it is. So absolutely must support pubs. They're incredibly heavily taxed, and it's not just beer duty and business rates and what Green King is talking about here. It's also the national insurance contributions that have gone up very heavily, and the minimum wage, which is a very they often employ staff on fairly low wages. And let's not forget, for many young people, going and working the local pub is their first job. It's no longer economically viable for many pubs to do so. And who doesn't love their local pub? Who cannot regret this news that one pub a day in Britain is going to close? Of course we need to support our pubs.
I mean, they're a particular business model, aren't they, Yasmin? You have sometimes ancient buildings which are worth a lot but very hard to maintain, and tiny profits, particularly on beer. So for them, maybe we do need to make an exception, don't we?
Well, Alice asked, who is there who wouldn't defend pubs? And I was going to put my hand up.
What? Outrageous.
Because, and I completely understand the passion, your passion, because my husband feels like that. My husband's English, he grew up with this, his dad went to pubs, I didn't, okay? So I can't see why pubs have to be the exception. Okay, it's a business. It's a business. If we are going to bail out or give them special dispensation,
it's not bailing out to simply reduce their already incredibly high tax burden.
I think they're not the only ones who've got this burden. Wine bars have the same burden. Restaurants are complaining, and restaurants are now have a double whammy because people having these injections apparently are not going out to eat anymore. Well, so I don't see why one business we're singling out, although I do understand the historical significance.
Maybe we will understand it much better very soon, because we're going to be speaking very soon to a publican who signed that open letter. We're also taking your calls. Should taxes for pubs be cut? 02078. A publican now, Hayley Pellegrini, is landlord of 4 pubs in Cambridge. Hey, Hayley, how you doing?
All good, thank you.
Good stuff. Talk me about how the landscape for pubs has changed in the last couple of years. Obviously, national insurance, that's a big part of it. But what else is it you're up against particularly?
Just rising costs in general. Obviously, we, with the employee costs, so like you say, the national insurance, we're actually real living wage employers. Because we appreciate just how much it costs to live in Cambridge. So we pay our staff the wage that they need to be able to live in Cambridge, which of course then comes on with all the extras. We've got your pensions, the rents of the buildings, general maintenance, business rates is a killer. It's just constant, the extra costs.
Business rates is what this open letter is about. Is it that? What is it specifically that you want to achieve? I know it's quite technical, but what's the difference that you want to make?
Currently, business rates for pubs are worked out on basically standing room. And I don't know when the last time you went to the pub, but actually most people sit. It's a social environment. You sit, you chat with people and everything else. Pubs are just not wall to wall with people anymore. partly because of, you know, the new generation coming up. They just naturally don't drink as much. They're more health conscious, and it's just difficult to kind of have the costs of the business rates the way they're calculated currently. And actually, hospitality is the third largest employer nationally, and so actually reducing the business rates would allow people like ourselves to employ more people, to be able to actually invest in our businesses more and actually put back more into the economy.
I'm just wondering what it's meant for you personally, running these businesses. How have things changed for you in terms of your lifestyle and what you have to contribute to the business?
It was just full on, really. You kind of get up in the morning, you're sat with your cup of coffee, and you're at your desk already. Especially with us having the 4 sites, obviously that comes with a lot of paperwork. And so, yeah, it's the days, they just kind of all blend into each other. I often find myself saying, okay, what day is it today? Because, you know, the days don't tend to mean so much because you work 24/7 essentially, and go wherever is needed. For instance, I had to step into one of the kitchens last night to help out because somebody had gone off sick and things like that. So you're just constantly moving between the sites, constantly on call. Yeah, we work extremely long hours, but our pay doesn't reflect that. We basically pay ourselves a set amount each week that we can live off of. And, you know, when you actually work it out to the amount of hours that we do, we're basically paying ourselves less than the national wage.
I mean, is there a point where, you know, you look at a city like Cambridge and say, well, maybe there are too many pubs? You're never that far away. From my memory of Cambridge, this is a horrible thing to have to admit to yourself, but just say, you know, actually, if a few pubs go, then we'll sort of match the need for them in the first place. That's the way business works.
It's kind of a difficult one, that, because actually, no, those pubs, they're not just like pubs for people to go to. They're places of community value. And so, you know, you're going to have a lot of people that might not speak to anybody else all day, and they will just go to a pub to actually meet up with somebody, to actually have that face-to-face interaction that they might not get elsewhere. And they're also employers and things like that. So a pub isn't literally just somewhere you go for a drink. It's so much more than that.
Okay, listen, Hayley, thank you so much for joining us and telling your story today. You know, and good luck with the business. I hope you're not run off your feet, and I hope things, you know, do work out for you one way or the other. Yasmin, what Hayley's talking about there is right. There are actually fewer and fewer places where we come together in one place and just be with each other rather than online, you know, in different rooms. The pub is one of those.
It's not true. Some people go to pubs. Some people go to restaurants. A lot of people go to cafes. It's not, you know, I find it quite hard to see a pub as the only place that this kind of thing happens. And it's very important that there are places where this kind of thing happens. But, you know, art centres, which used to really bring people together. There was a wonderful one near where I live, the Brentford, in Brentford. It had theatre, cinema, pub, yeah, a drinking place. It shut down. And honestly, for that community, it was the end of any place where they could meet. As they said to us, because I talked to them about it, you can't take babies into pubs, really, but you could bring... So I don't see a special case for pubs.
Have we got a fixation with pubs as being from yesteryear, some kind of mythical golden age, Alice, when in fact tastes have changed and moved on, and you might want to be somewhere with your kids that doesn't keep kids out? Why are pubs a special...
Oh, precisely because they have this historic significance, because they're so deeply rooted in British culture and literature. Can I also say how much I love that Hayley made that very moving case for how much she's struggling in front of the sign that said silky nuts?
Okay.
That was brilliant.
I didn't pick up on that, but okay.
But that's what's so great about pubs, the wit, the humour, it's fundamental to British culture. And you talk about Brentford, I mean, sorry, I grew up in Brentford. I know the centre you're talking about. It's not the only place in Brentford where people could meet up. It's West London. But there are villages, rural villages, where the pub is the only community facility that there is. And of course, where I live, in South East London, everyone takes their baby to the pub. I remember going on NCT meetups at the pub. Pubs have changed. They're much more family-friendly now. They're great places for families.
In every part of Britain, there are art centres. It's not true.
There?
Yes, there are. They're small theatres, they're art centres, and many of them are closing down.
I'm sure they're suffering many of the same issues that pubs are.
Exactly.
Rates,
I mean,
employment
Alice,
costs.
I'm going to go out on a limb here and say you're a free marketeer, right?
Absolutely.
You like competition. You like the way business works.
I like fair competition.
OK, well, this is fair. If pubs are not being used the way they used to be, then they close down and they become something else. Those buildings provide homes for people instead.
You want to put up the asylum seekers in disused pubs?
It's not out of the stretch of imagination, according to Yvette Cooper.
I'm a free market. I believe in competition, but I also believe in low tax. I believe that pubs are punitively taxed, they're unfairly taxed. Hayley made the point brilliantly about how business rates are unfair. They compete on an unequal basis with supermarkets, for example. You know, far cheaper and much more depressing to drink at home. I think that alcohol taxes are just trying to, deter behaviour rather than gain revenue, and no, I absolutely think pubs deserve a break.
Let's take some calls anyway. Thanks, Alice. John is in North Yorkshire. Do you think that pubs should have a special exception, John, made?
Hello, Matt, and hello, panel. What's the first thing you noticed when you spoke to the publican in the pub? 5 minutes ago.
For Alice, it was silky nuts, but for me, I don't know. It was a lovely sight, if I'm honest with you. But then I'm a pub lover.
So Matt,
Yasmin, isn't it? Horses for courses.
What you noticed is there's lots of beer fonts, real ale fonts. There's more increase of microbreweries now in the last 10 years than there ever has been. So we're focusing on microbreweries, massive increase, and yet pubs, as you rightly say, 25 to 40 pubs are closing down every single week. I think the main reason actually, 40 years ago, the Monopolies and Mergers Commission crippled the industry completely by getting rid of a lot of managed houses. A managed house is the cheapest way of running a pub. You've now got the third man, so the vast majority of pubs are now tenancies where they've got to run from Monday to Thursday just to pay the rent. The middleman is causing extra money. OK, John,
also, are you pushing the responsibility back onto the breweries and saying, well, if they're struggling like that, if these landlords, these tenants are struggling so much, why aren't you helping them by bringing the price of beer and other things down?
Well, the other question is price of beer. £2 a pint in Middlesbrough, and they're making a profit out of it. Where I live in Harrogate, £7 a pint in a pub. Why is there such variation from one part of the country to the next? The question is, I don't think anybody's even answered the question, tax cuts to save pubs. That's the question,
That's the question, yeah.
Ken Clarke, Chancellor of the Exchequer, actually reduced tax on whiskey and beer. And there was a slight increase in sales. But I think the main reason is the culture of society has completely changed. And this is what I said to the person that answered the phone. The main reason why pubs are failing is because young people are not so much going to the pubs now. If you look in the city where you are, there's a big surge between 4:30 and 6 o'clock when workers, this is your pen pushers, office workers are going in for an hour and a half. The pubs are absolutely really full. And then after 6:30, they become empty again.
So, John, are you saying no?
Days, you said 40 years ago, it would be the working class man would go in the pub after the pit, after the factory, and just men only. In the 1960s, you'd never see women that consume 8 pints of beer.
So, are you saying sink or swim, John? Just so I'm clear, you let them go, and if they survive, then great, but no tax cuts to help them out.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that at all. Monopolies and Mergers Commission, and I think any landlord that was around 40 years ago would agree, that started the cripplisation of pubs. I think the main problem also is what I've just said, it's the culture gap now. Young people are not going to pubs.
OK, we're going to move on. Thanks for your call, John. Linda's in Tyne and Wear. Linda, do you think there should be tax cuts to help pubs out?
Yes, I do. Talking from a personal point of view, yes, I would like to see that, because it's been a lifeline for me going to my local pub in South Shields. It really has, and many other people.
So this is a public service that we can't live without?
Well, in my opinion, that's the way I feel.
Yeah, but why should I have to pay for it? Why should Yasmin have to pay for it through our taxes if Yasmin doesn't enjoy the pub?
Well, I'm not a drinker, but I like to go out from a social point of view. I drink, but I drink non-alcoholic. I still support them. And well, I don't know about that, what you've just asked me, but no, I believe in tax cuts for them. Yes, I do.
Okay.
I'm an older person, and I'm talking from a personal point of view. And lots of other people I know that go into the pub that I go into, and there's a lot of younger people going. So that particular pub, no, I don't want it to close down.
No.
I would,
Listen,
I would
Linda,
help it out if I could.
Linda, you sound like the sort of person it'd be lovely to sit down next to in a pub and have a chat, even if it's a non-alcoholic one. Thank you so much for that call. Don't go anywhere.